Good morning, everyone. So now we are running to our fifth week of online video lesson presentation. Again, this is Sir Lucky and I'm your online English teacher. So at this point, I suggest that you get your pens and notebooks ready so that we can start with our discussion on nouns and its major classifications. But before we start, let us first have a quick review of the last lesson that we have had, which was all about modals. Okay, so I believe that everything is all set. So let's now begin with our discussion. Okay, so let's now have the first slide. So let's have a quick review of the last lesson that we have taken, which was all about modals. Okay, so you have it on your screen, so please follow through. Okay, so let's start. Now, again, what exactly do you mean by modals? So these are examples of auxiliary or helping verbs, and they are used to express the following. So we have number 1, ability, number 2, possibility, number 3, request, number 4, permission, and number 5, obligation. Now, it is also important to take note that the function of the modals actually depends on the type of modals that you are using in your sentences. Okay, I hope that's clear. Now, in addition to that, we have a number of examples of modals. So we have the following. So we have can and could. We also have may and might. Then number 3, we have will, shall, and would. And then we have ought to, which of course we're going to skip because it has almost the same function as the modal should. And then as mentioned, so we have the modal should. And finally, we have must. Okay, so let's go back to the first pair. So we have can and could. When do we use these modals, can and could? So they are used to express possibility, ability, and permission. Now, when we say could, the type of ability that it expresses is actually something that is contrary to fact. Okay, so that is somewhat like impossible to happen. So that is the difference, the major difference between can and could. Okay, now next, let's have may and might. Now, when we say may and might, these modals are used to express possibility. Okay, now let's be very particular about its functions. Now, when we say may, it is a modal used to express possibility, okay, with certainty of greater chance of happening. And then on the other hand, when we say might, that is a modal which is used to express possibility with lesser chance of happening. So the certainty is not really that certain, okay? So it has lesser chance of happening. I hope that's clear. Now next, will, shall, and would. Now when we say will and shall, okay, both are used to express future action. Okay, now in addition to that, will is also used to express polite request. Okay, and as for shall, it is used in asking for suggestion or advice. Okay, now let's now have would. Now when you make use of the modal would, it is used to express a wish, a preference, or an ability which, just like could, is somewhat like contrary to fact, or again, it's somewhat like impossible to happen. So that is, or those are the functions of the modal would. Okay, now when we say should, it is a modal which is used to express responsibility, duty, or an advice. Okay, now when we say advice, it's also important to take note of this. Okay, when we say advice, it is all up to you as to whether you are going to follow it or not. So you have nothing to lose if you're not going to follow the advice. Okay, that is for the modal should. Okay, unlike with the modal must, okay, which expresses strong obligation or strong supposition, if you are not going to follow it, then something might happen or there might be a consequence. So that is the basic difference between the modals should and must. Okay, so I hope everything is clear. Okay, so now, if you don't have any more questions, let's now move on to our next topic, which is all about nouns and its major classifications. Okay, so let's now have the next slide. Okay. Okay, so let us have our discussion. Now, this is something very basic, and I believe that this must also be very easy for you. Okay, so you have it on your screen, and let's read on. Okay, so again, what exactly do you mean by nouns? So nouns are names of persons, places, things, events, animals, qualities, or ideas. Now, typically, nouns are used as subjects, though it may also perform some other functions, such as the following. Now, the focus of our discussion on this particular part of the slide is more on the functions of nouns used in sentences. Now, what are these functions that we are talking about? A noun can be used either as a subject, as a direct object, as an object of the preposition, as an indirect object, and as a complement. Okay, so let's now have the analysis of the first function, okay, as a subject, direct object, and object of the preposition. So let's analyze the given example. The students answered their modules at home. Again, the students answered their modules at home. Okay, so in this particular sentence, we were able to identify three nouns. And what are those? So we have students, modules, and home. Okay, so that we can better understand the function of each noun in this sentence. Okay, so let us label and analyze the following. Okay, so let's have students. Okay, so that is our subject, and then modules is our direct object, and then home is our object of the preposition. Now, why is that so? It's because when we say subject, it is the one being talked about in the sentence. Again, take note of that. When we say subject, that is the one being talked about in the sentence. Now, when we say direct object, it basically answers two questions. And what are those? So we have what and who. Okay, again, what are the questions that are answered by the direct object? So we have what and who. Okay, now when we say object of the preposition, it basically answers the question where. Okay, now let's analyze. Now, why is it that students is our subject? Because again, that is the one being talked about in our sentence. Now, modules is our direct object because number one, it comes after the transitive verb or the action word, and it answers the question what or who. And then home is our object of the preposition because it answers the question where, and it is preceded by our signal word at, which is an example of preposition. Okay, I hope that one is very clear. Okay, let's now move on to the fourth function of nouns in sentences. So we have indirect object. Okay, so let's analyze the given example. Sir Lucky sent Mark an invitation. Again, Sir Lucky sent Mark an invitation. Okay, so again, let's label and analyze the following. So Sir Lucky here is our subject. Again, why? It's because it is the one being talked about in the sentence, Sir Lucky. Now, Mark is our indirect object. Now, when we say indirect object, it answers the questions to whom or for whom. Okay, and then next one, invitation is our direct object because again, it answers the question what or who. Okay, now at this point, if you are confused, okay, or if you are having some difficulty trying to identify the difference between the indirect object and the direct object, okay, so you need to transform or you need to change the pattern of our sentence. So this one follows the STVIODO pattern. So you have to change this to the STVDO pattern, okay, and then you ask yourself at the end of the sentence, okay, after analyzing, to whom or for whom. Okay, so that will be our indirect object. So let's see. Again, when we say indirect object, it answers the question to whom or for whom. Okay, so our sentence is Sir Lucky sent Mark an invitation. That is STVIODO. Now change it to STVDO pattern. It will be Sir Lucky sent an invitation, and then you ask yourself, to whom or for whom did Sir Lucky send an invitation? Again, to whom or for whom did Sir Lucky send an invitation? And the answer is to Mark. Okay, and to Mark is our indirect object because it answers the question to whom or for whom. So I hope everything is clear. And I hope that you got that one, okay? Now, finally, the fifth function of nouns in sentences is as a complement, okay? Now, when we say complement, it tells something about the subject, okay? So let's consider our example, our sentence. Catriona is a beauty queen. So what can you say about Catriona? Our subject, okay, she is a beauty queen. Now, who is a beauty queen? That is Catriona. If you would notice, our subject and complement are one and the same person, okay, connected by the linking verb is, okay, and it follows the SLVC pattern. Again, the fifth function of nouns in sentences is as a complement, okay? Now, when we say complement, again, it tells something about the subject, and it is connected by a linking verb. Okay, so we have is, was, are, were, am. Okay, let's analyze further. Beauty queen as a complement. If you're going to analyze it further, okay, so the main complement there is queen. What kind of queen? beauty queen. So the word beauty there functions as an adjective. Okay, I hope everything is very clear. Again, when we talk about the functions of nouns in sentences, so basically we have five major functions. Again, what are those? So we have a noun may function as a subject, that's one, as a direct object, as an object of the preposition, as an indirect object, and as a complement. Now, again, when we say subject, that is the one being talked about in the sentence. When we say direct object, it comes after a transitive verb or an action word, and it answers a question, what or who. Now, when we say object of the preposition, okay, it answers the question where, and it is preceded by a preposition. Now, when we say indirect object, it answers a question, to whom or for whom. So one suggestion is that from STVIODO pattern, so that you will not be confused, change the sentence to an STVDO pattern, and then you ask yourself the questions, to whom or for whom, and that's where you get the answer, the indirect object. Okay, and then finally, when we say complement, complement tells something about the subject. So the subject and the complement are one and the same person. Okay, so complement is our fifth and last function. Okay, so I hope everything is clear. So let's now have the next slide. Okay, at this point, let us now move on to the major classifications of nouns. And generally, nouns are classified as proper, common, collective, abstract, and mass. Okay, so let us now have the first one. So when we say proper nouns, examples are given in particular, or you are giving specific examples. And so these examples must be written in majuscule. Now when we say majuscule, it is another word for a capital letter. Okay, now on the other hand, when we say common nouns, examples are given in general. And so these examples must be written in small letters. Okay, and another word for that is minuscule. So it's also important to take note of that. So again, when we say majuscule, it's another word for a capital letter. And when we say minuscule, it is another word for a small letter. Okay. Number three, when we say collective nouns, a group is taken or is considered as one. Now, apparently, they look singular in form, but they are plural in meaning. Okay. So again, when we say collective nouns, they are singular in form, but they are plural in meaning. Okay, the fourth one, when we say abstract nouns, it refers to qualities that are usually intangible. Now, when we say intangible, it simply means that it is something that is not perceived by our sense of touch. Okay, and finally, the last one, number five, mass nouns. Okay, it is also known as non-countable nouns. Okay, so those are again the five major classifications of nouns. Okay, so let's now have the next slide. So for the first major classification of nouns, we have the proper nouns, okay? Now, what do you mean by proper nouns? These are specific names of persons, places, things, events, animals, qualities, or ideas, okay? So again, the key word or the most important word in the definition is we are giving specific names, okay? Or specific examples. Okay, so let's consider the following. So we have President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Okay, so if you would notice, the words President, Rodrigo, Roa, and Duterte are all written in majuscules. Again, when we say majuscules, it is another word for capital letters. Okay, another example, Maykawayan City. The words Maykawayan and City both start with a capital letter. Next, University of Santo Tomas. So if you would notice, we have the acronym UST, which are all written in capital letters. And finally, we have Philippine mahogany. Okay, what kind of wood? So that is Philippine mahogany. Okay, that is a specific name of something. So therefore, Philippine must be written in capital letter. Okay, so that is for proper nouns. So let's have the next one. When we say common nouns, these are general names of persons, places, things, events, animals, qualities, or ideas. Okay, and so they must be written in minuscules or small letters. For example, we have the following. So we have teachers, doctors, laborers. We also have restaurants, parks, malls. We have homes, schools, offices, and plants, trees, and flowers. Again, those are examples of common nouns that must be written in minuscules or small letters. Okay, so let's now have the third major classification of nouns. For the third major classification, so we have collective nouns. Again, what do you mean by collective nouns? So these are groups taken as a singular unit. Okay, so for this one, we have the following examples. We have army, team, crew, pride, band, swarm, jury, family, committee, and school. Okay, so those are our examples for collective nouns. Again, when we say army, it is a group of soldiers. When we say team, it consists of its members or players. When we say crew, it is a group of employees. When we say pride, it pertains to a group of lions. Now, when we say band, it consists of musicians. When we say swarm, typically it consists of a group of insects. Okay? Now, when we say jury, that is a group of judges. And for family and committee, okay, it consists of its members, specific members, okay? And then for school, actually does not refer to a place itself, okay? But rather, it refers to a group of fish, okay? So those are our examples for collective nouns, okay? So let's now have the fourth one. When we say abstract nouns, these are intangible qualities or ideas that can be perceived by the mind rather than by the senses. So we have the following examples. So we have love, freedom, beauty, hope, and courage. Okay, now for the last major classification of nouns, let's have the fifth one. Okay, and the last major classification of nouns is the mass nouns. Now, these are non-countable nouns that name materials in general rather than materials in particular. Examples of which are water, rice, sugar, corn, coffee, cement, sand, milk, juice, among others. However, there are signal words that can mark count or measurement. So for that, we have the following examples. So for water, we have a glass of water. For rice, we have a sack of rice. For sugar, we have a pack of sugar. For coffee, we have a cup of coffee. And then for cement, we have a bag of cement. And finally, for milk, we have a bottle of milk. Okay, so I hope everything is now very clear. Okay, so let's now have the next slide. Okay, so at this point, we are just going to apply what we have just learned. Okay, now for the instruction. So we are going to identify the classification of the following nouns. Okay, so actually I'm just going to answer this on the spot and I hope that I will get 10 out of 10 in this particular activity. Okay, now I do also suggest that you answer along with me and let's see if you will have the same answer as I do. Okay, so let us consider the example given. So when we say choir, okay, that is an example of collective noun. Now, why is that so? It's because choir is actually a group of singers, okay? So that's why our answer is collective, okay? So let's now consider number one, okay? So let's start. I would also suggest that if you would like to answer with me, okay, so you pause this video for a while for about 5 or 10 seconds, and then after which, play it again so that you would know if we have the same answers, okay? So let's start with number one. So number one is a bowl of rice, okay? So actually it has two clues already. So when we say bowl, it's like a sort of measurement already, and then rice, I would say, so that gives off the answer, okay? So I believe that this is an example of mass noun, okay? So I hope that you do also have the same answer. So for number one, let's see if we have the same answer. My answer is mass noun, okay? Okay, so that's it. Very good. Number one, mass noun. Okay, number two, laptop. So when we say laptop, okay, for me, I would say this is an example of, okay, I'm going to give you 5 seconds or even so. Okay, so time's up. So laptop is an example of, I would say it's a common noun. Okay, so let's see if we have the same answers. So common noun, very good. Now number three, respect. Okay, respect, I would say is an example of abstract noun. So let's see if we have the same answers. So number three, abstract. Very good. Abstract noun. Now, number four, cup of tea. Again, cup is a measurement and then tea is something which is non-countable, okay? So I would say that number four is an example of mass noun. So let's see if we have the same answers. Mass noun. Very good. Now, number 5, class. Just like choir, okay, as I analyze the given examples, I would say that number 5, class, is also an example of collective noun. So let's see if my answer is correct and if we have the same answers. So number 5, collective. There you go. Very good. Now, number 6. Now, based on my analysis, this is the only item among the 10 which starts with a capital letter. So I would say that this is actually an example of proper noun. So let's see if we have the same answer. Proper noun? Very good. There you go. Number 7, murder of crows. Okay, so when we say murder, actually that is a group of birds, specifically crows. Okay, so I would say that that is again an example of collective noun. So let's see if my answer is correct. If we have the same answers, collective, number 7. Very good. So far so good. We have 7 out of 7. Number 8, modules. Modules, I would say, can be classified as common noun, just like up top. Okay, so for me, number 7, based on my analysis, based on my personal opinion, number 8, modules, is common noun. Let's see if we have the same answers and if our answer is correct. Common noun, number 8. Very good. There you go. Down to our last 2 items. Now, number 9, staff. Okay, staff, I would say, apparently it looks singular in meaning, but in terms, singular in form, but in terms of meaning, I would say it is somewhat plural. Okay, so I believe it is so much like class, okay, and choir. So I think the answer for number 9 is collective noun. Okay, so let's see if our answer is correct. Okay, and if we have the same answers. So number 9, staff, the answer is collective noun. Very good, collective noun. And then finally, we are down to our last example. So pinch of salt. Again, pinch, just like bowl and cup, okay, a sort of measurement. And then salt is non-countable. So I would say that this is, for us to have 10 out of 10, okay, fingers crossed. I hope that the answer in number 10 is mass noun, okay? Mass noun. Let's see if our answer is correct. Very good. There you go. So we got 10 out of 10. So congratulations if you got 10 out of 10, just like uh, what I've just had, okay? So next, we are going to have some more, okay? Still all about nouns. So let's have the next slide. Okay, so at this point, let us now consider the number of nouns, okay? Now, what do you mean by number? So as you can see on your screen, so let's read on. Number indicates whether a noun is singular or plural. Now, if the subject is only one, then it is singular. Now, if it refers to more than one, then it is plural in number, okay? So let us now consider the examples given on the table or given on the grid, okay? So we are going to analyze how to change a noun from singular to its plural form, okay? Now, there are some nouns wherein all you have to do is just add an S, okay, to make its plural form. So we have roof, it becomes roofs, okay? Then second one, we have reef, it becomes reefs, okay? So that is for regular nouns. All you have to do again is just add an S to change from singular to its plural form, okay? However, there are some nouns wherein it ends with the vowel O, okay? And then in that case, you have to add an ES to change from singular to its plural form. However, that doesn't apply to all words ending with the vowel O, okay? So let's consider the following example. So we have echo, it becomes echoes. And then when we say volcano, it becomes volcanoes. Okay, you add es. Okay, but again, just a reminder, not all words ending with a vowel o automatically you will have to add es to make its plural form. Okay, again, it does not. That particular rule does not apply to all words ending with letter O. Okay, so let's now have number 3, the third suggestion on how we change singular to plural forms of nouns. Okay, so if a word ends with letter Y, okay, you have to omit the Y and then change it to IES. Okay, again, if a word ends with letter Y, then you have to omit it and then change it to IES to form the, or to change it to the plural form. So we have army, it becomes armies. And then country, it becomes countries. Okay, so that is our third rule or third suggestion. Okay, next, there are some words wherein from letter I in the singular form, you have to change it to letter E to have its plural form. So we have the word crisis, it becomes crisis. Okay, and of course, we have some other examples which we're going to have as we proceed with our lesson. Okay, now for irregular verbs, okay, it's like a 360-degree turn wherein you will have to change the entire spelling. Okay, so let's say life becomes lives. Okay, from mouse it becomes mice. Okay, so there is a definite change in terms of spelling. Okay, from child singular it becomes children in its plural form, and then from alumnus it becomes alumni, and then finally from agendum it becomes agenda. So that is how we basically change the singular form of nouns to its plural form. Okay, number one, again, for regular nouns all you have to do is just add an s. Okay, and then in some cases you will also have to add es given that the word ends with the vowel o. However, it does not apply to all words, so there's always an exemption in every rule. Okay, so always bear that in mind. Now apart from that, if a word or a noun ends with y, then you have to drop the y and then change it to ies to form its plural form. Okay, now in some cases from letter I, okay, in terms of its spelling in the singular form, so you have to change it to letter E, okay, to form the plural form. And then for irregular verbs, you have to drastically change the entire spelling of the word to form its plural form. Again, we have life, lives, mouse, mice, so it's totally different, okay, from singular to plural form. So that is how we change from singular to plural, considering the number of nouns. Okay, so we have to bear in mind the number of nouns. So it has something to do with singularity and plurality of the nouns, or simply we're just referring to singular and plural forms of nouns. Okay, so let's have a drill on this particular topic. Okay, so let's now have the next slide. Okay, so finally, we are now down to our last drill, okay? So we are going to identify, okay, the plural form of the given nouns in its singular form. So let's now have number one. I just hope that, again, you have the same answers as I do, okay? So let's see. So you can pause this video for a while, and then after 5 or 10 seconds, again, you can play it to see if we have the same answers, okay? So for number one, what do you think is the answer? I'm giving you 5 seconds, okay, to think. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, my answer is topazes. Okay, so I'm just going to add es to form its plural form. So again, from topaz, singular, it becomes topazes, plural form. I'm just going to add es. Let's see if we have the same answers. Okay, topazes. There you go. Okay, again, I'm answering this on the spot, so I'm not really certain if my answers are right. Okay, so it's not that I'm guessing, but I'm actually analyzing. Okay, I'm just applying what I have just learned from the previous slide. Okay, so I hope that you do the same. So let's now the second one. Number two, potato. Potato, again, it ends with the vowel O. So again, our rule, if a word ends with letter O, but it doesn't apply in all words, okay? So all you have to do is just add ES, okay? So potato, potatoes. Again, I'm just going to add ES. Let's see if we have the same answers. Very good. There you go. Potatoes. You just add ES to form, okay, from singular to its plural form. Now, number three, valley. Okay, that is a regular noun. So all you have to do is just add an S. So that is just based on my personal analysis. Okay, this is my personal answer. Valley, singular, valleys, plural. Again, I'm just going to add S. Let's see if we have the same answers. Okay, valleys with an S. There you go. So far so good. I got 3 out of 3. Now I do hope that you also got 3 out of 3. So, 3 so far. Okay. Now let's have cargo, cargoes. Again, a word ending with letter O. For me, you're just going to add es. So let's see if we have the same answers. So cargo, cargoes. There you go. Leaf is an example of irregular noun. So therefore, you have to change the entire spelling of the word, okay? So leaf becomes leaves, as in Leaves. Okay, let's see if we have the same answers. There you go. Next, half. Okay, one thing that I've noticed is that if a word I would say ends with letter F, then I just think that you have to change it to drop the F and then add VES. I don't know. I'm not so sure. Maybe it may be right or I may be wrong. Okay, but let's see. Half, halves, spelled as HALVES. Okay, my answer is halves. Okay, let's see if we have the same answers. There you go. Next, parenthesis. For me, this is somewhat easy because from letter I in the singular form, all I have to do is just change it to letter E to make its plural form. So parenthesis, parentheses, okay? Letter E on the last syllable. Very good. Now, ox, just like child, children, ox is now oxen, okay, in the plural form. Very good so far. Then memorandum. Again, an example of irregular verb, so that's why we have to change the entire spelling of the word. From memorandum, it now becomes memoranda, okay? There you go. And finally, datum. Actually, I'm not really familiar with this word at first, but then upon reading some more, I was able to realize that okay, datum is actually the singular form of the word data. So data is the plural form. Okay, so there you go. Again, we got 10 out of 10 out of 10. I hope that you also got the same score, okay? But nevertheless, if you got or if you had some mistakes answering this activity, well, I suggest that you practice some more, okay? Now, that's just all about it, okay, for our session. So again, this is Sir Lucky. I hope that you learned something lucrative and interesting, okay, and something beneficial out from our online video lesson presentation, okay? I'm looking forward to see you again on our next video, okay? So I'll see you all next time, okay? I'll see you all again. Good day, God bless, and I love you so, so much. Again, this is Sir Lucky, your English online teacher. Thank you and goodbye. See you next time.